and welcome to Living With Us. I'm Sharon Mundia, and today we are at the Swiss Lenana Mount Hotel. I've got two incredible artists with me here today. We've got George Mololo and Dorothy Kiprop, both of whom are artists. You are a fine artist and an abstract artist. Is it all in the fine arts, would you say? Is it safe to say it's not in the fine, it's different. You're going to break it down. You're going to break it down for me. And today we get to hear a little bit more about their journey and their story. So welcome. So first question, what's the umbrella word is art, right?
Yes.
And so what's the difference between abstract and fine arts?
Okay, what I can say is that fine art is kind of, I think it encompasses all of them.
Oh, so fine arts is...
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So abstract art could be part of fine arts.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Which is what I thought, and then you both were like, no.
I think it's because in my head, fine art is usually more defined in a way. You can tell, you can actually place your finger on what exactly this is and what this other thing is. Like, for instance, people who do portraits and human figures, and then now abstract is a little bit more random.
Like alternative, right?
Actually, how I can put it is that during the time of the Renaissance, there were these different art movements that came into play. We had realism, whereby most people will draw how things actually appear.
So the landscape.
Landscape, people. Then there came another one that was called expressionism, whereby it will focus on people's feeling, trying to bring out the feeling from people, the emotion part, the expression. Then came cubism and abstract. So these are different type of art movement that originated, and they were guided by different factors. Some is that some artists choose not to go into realism. Some choose cubism. So different layers. So thank you. Quick 101 art class. Thank you.
All right, so tell me a little bit about your childhood and when art, although you got introduced to the world of art. Maybe we could start with you, Dorothy.
Well, for me, I guess the first time I interacted with something creative, something that needed me to just, express myself, I think would be in nursery school, when we just used to come in the morning and then mold things with clay as we wait for our teachers so that we can begin our lessons. And then...
You remember that?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's because that's mostly what we used to do as our morning routine, like when you get to school.
And it must have had an impact. You must have been excited about that.
In fact, so I think I was the one who was telling people, so today we are molding a kitchen table and we're going to put food on top and everything else. And then now I got to primary school, and that was a little bit watered down because now these other subjects came in. It was geography. In nursery school it's just basic. You're just learning how to speak, how to count, and everything else. So when I got to primary, things got a little bit intense, and art was a little bit watered down. So there wasn't really much space to create because we barely used to have actual art classes. So I think at that point I got stuck at just drawing the most in my science class or geography class, when you're drawing animals, human anatomy.
And would you draw outside of the classes? Would you be like doodling and drawing and just pen and paper in hand?
The magazines at the back that normally used to have kids section. You feel coloring and joining the dots to create stuff. I'd say that's the kind of interaction that I had with art outside of class.
Okay. All right. And what about you, George?
My childhood was actually a bit different in that when I was in primary, we used to have art, craft, and music. But the funniest thing is that when I was in primary, I didn't have interest in art. Actually, I never used to perform well in art. I used to perform better in music. So my inclination was towards music, not art. Even though we used to do all those modeling, making house structures, making things with clay, because we used to make our own clay. We were taught that, but it never interested me much until when I went to high school.
So it's high school, but did you at least used to draw, or when you were given a test or something, would you be able to get the proportions right? Like at the basics, when you drew, someone would be able to recognize, that's a woman.
Yeah, actually I was very good.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't have interest.
Okay.
So I never liked the subject.
Right, but you were skilled.
Yes, very.
Skilled. It's just that you...
Yeah, because even some kids would give me their homework to do.
Oh, really? Even you? So you were the ones who
used to draw for people.
Yeah, no, I struggled. And that's why I was trying to, when you said you had no interest, I just wondered, and you didn't, I think you said you performed better in music.
Yes.
I was wondering, is it that you had no skills at all? And then suddenly in high school, you just, picked up
actually,
a pen
I
and
hated
came
the
to...
theory part.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a theory that threw you off.
Yeah, and that's what used to have more marks.
Oh,
yes.
So they turned art into a class. Okay.
Yes.
So you go to high school, and what changed for you then?
Actually, when I finished class 8, I dropped out for 2 years.
Okay.
And the issue was that at that time, my dad was given, the early retirement. They used to call them the golden handshake during President Moi's time. So at that time when he was given that, we were still in primary. So I had no hope of proceeding with the education. So those 2 years later, I met somebody, a gentleman from Northern Ireland. He used to be the financial director of the Association for the Physically Disabled of Kenya.
Sorry, he used to be the what, sorry?
Financial director of the Association for the Physically Disabled of Kenya.
Okay.
And he opted to take me back to school. And that's when, 2 years later, that's when I knew how much I got of my KCPE, imagine. Yeah, so when I got that opportunity to look for school, I decided to look for a school that is outside Nairobi. So I went to high school in Mombasa. Okay. It's a special school, but integrated. It used to have the able-bodied student. So it is in high school, that high school that I went to, they were offering art and design, drawing and design. And it was actually interesting because the school used to have, like for the Form 1, they used to do sign writing, Form 2 used to do tailoring, Form 3 woodwork, Form 4 computer. That is aside from the curricula. So I picked art and design. And that's with the guidance of the art teacher there, I started working on my art skill.
Wow.
Then he left when I was in Form 2. He went to do his master. So I was the only student. The school decided to drop art. I stuck to art, so I was the only student doing art in that school.
What?
Yes.
Why? I mean, also that the school decided to drop art.
Yeah, because the art teacher went.
Yeah.
And for this skill-based subject, we don't have a lot of trained teachers for that. So it is a long process to get TSC to recruit a replacement teacher. It was difficult.
Oh, wow. So for the rest of your high school years, you were the only art student?
I was the only art student.
With no teacher?
With no teacher. It used to come, let's say, like a month or so. But my exams, I used to do them in a girls' school, the art exam at Star of the Sea. So there was that arrangement, he made that arrangement.
So it was clear to you quite early on that you were very passionate. I mean, it's clear to me at least that you were obviously really passionate for you to have been the only student. For you, was it the same in high school, sort of that being the point at which you started to really explore your love for art?
For me, I guess it's a little bit different. I got a chance to also take art in high school. But now my issue was that my parents were a bit skeptical because they would probably opt for something like business, you know, what they consider, you know, the better subjects compared to just taking art. So when I got to high school, I got a chance to take art, and we were quite a number in our class, I'd say, and we were privileged to have a very good art teacher who took us through, and I guess it was actually my best performed subject, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yes, because I loved it and I really, really enjoyed art compared to, well, I enjoyed other subjects, but art just had a special place.
Was your passion. So did your parents warm up to it at some point, or?
They were a bit skeptical, but I think they're very supportive. They might not really understand what it is I want or what it is I'm doing, but they're always really present to just give a hand whenever I need something.
And at the time in high school, did you know how far you wanted to take art in your career? What was your intention?
Sure. Yes, I was very intentional about it.
So you wanted to pursue it as a career. You were sure even from high school
100%.
this was it.
Yes.
Did you have a career trajectory or like a goal or some kind of plan once you finished high school? Did you know what you wanted to do and how you wanted to pursue art?
I guess for me, I just say when I was in high school, I used to say I want to be an artist. Yes, so I wasn't really clear on which line of art exactly I'll take, because we were introduced to a lot of things. There's graphics, there's fine art, there's sculpting, there's, you know, mosaic, like, so it was a bit of everything. So I was really sure I wanted to be an artist. I just didn't know what exactly I wanted to pursue.
Okay.
For me, it was also interesting. Art was also one of the best subject that I performed very well. Actually, I was the best art student, Coast Province, in my KCSE.
First I thought you were going to joke you were the best art student in your class, in your school, and I was like, but you were also the only art student. But wait, in
Coast Province.
What?
Yes, I was.
Your school must have been so proud to know that, because the truth is they weren't fully giving you the adequate support that someone who's clearly passionate about it. You know, I wish they'd have been able to guide you more and have a constant teacher, but it's clear that you were passionate, and I guess they did try with the teachers who'd come in. So for them to have seen you, have you followed up to see if they do have they expanded the art segment in the...
They try to have it back, but I'm not sure, because it's been a long while since I went back. But what I can say is that the challenge that I had in choosing to have a career in art is the misconception that is out there. Most people, you know, there's this false analogy whereby people say, why become an artist? Most artists get rich when they die, because, you know, when you look at the history, history, their arts are usually auctioned well when they are long gone. So for me, the 2 years that I spent out of school, when I finished primary school, there was a time I went to a friend's place, and I saw a quote that says, if you don't see 5 or 10 years ahead, you're totally blind. When you don't see 5 or 10 years ahead, you're totally blind. And I kind of like incorporated that into my personal philosophy. So when I went into high school, I already figured out what I wanted to be. And I wanted to pursue 2 sets of career. I either wanted to be a lawyer and an artist, or a doctor and an artist.
Wow. Yes. So you were not going to be boxed in?
No.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time, there was a person I met, and he advised me, and he told me, if you feel you are inclined or you are gifted when it comes to aptitude and skills, have some papers to back it up. It will help you in terms of how you're going to charge for your work, for your services, and also in the job market. Because if you just have a skill, you are a musician, you just sing, you might sing well, but if you don't have purpose behind it, it will be difficult for you to enumerate yourself, because the world out there, it's kind of like they are more skill and trained based oriented. When you go into an interview and you're being interviewed as an artist, they'll want to know what is your professional background, so that there's liability, they can rely on your work.
That's so interesting. I want to explore that a little bit more. The world requires that you do more than just say art in this instance, that they would need some papers. So can you explain that a little bit more to me? Yeah, because I'm not sure I quite understand, or even, but I want to understand that a little bit better. What did you mean?
Like I'll give you an example. You go to a given corporate or a hotel or a county government, and you have this idea. You want to do an artwork that can be of aesthetic value to the appearance of the place or to the comfort of the place. You need to know how to do a proposal. You need to know how to float your idea, and you need to know how to convince them. But after you cross that hurdle, the second thing will be, are you qualified in this field? Because everybody wants accountability. Nobody will want to give you work and then probably something goes wrong, and then they'll be put at task to explain why they gave you that work and you're not qualified.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy. The other reason why it is good also to have papers is that the skill-oriented sector has low seasons and high seasons. So in the high seasons, you may be able to get good orders, and you may be able to do well. But in the times of low seasons, you'll be out of work. So you need also to have
to balance it out.
To balance.
Okay, I get it. I thought you were essentially saying that that you would say it's not enough to just be an artist, but I think what you're saying
it is also not enough.
Oh, you think it's also you don't
not enough.
But why would you say so? Yeah, do you feel this, or let me ask
I think my perspective is a similar thing, but now my perspective is a little bit different in that if you're an artist, invest in that skill, invest in that gift in terms of getting, going to school for it, understanding it better, so that you have a mastery of what you're doing. So beyond being a gifted, talented artist, I also really understand what I am doing and I'm an expert at it. So I'd relate to it in that way.
Yeah, but that's, and that I completely understand. But what you're saying is it's not enough to just to be an to pursue art as your career, as your passion, as your bread and butter.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
It's not enough.
Would you say it's enough for someone to pursue banking? Would you say if someone wanted to be a banker, would you say yeah that's fine, but for an artist, it's not enough?
I think it applies to all careers that you are in.
Okay.
You need to be competent. You need to be well trained. You need to be well versed with the world trends, and also to understand how this developed. Because you see, not just art, let's say even music.
But that's still in the arts.
Yes,
if we're being fair here, music, acting, arts, it's still in the creative industry, in the arts industry.
Yes.
Which more often than not is undervalued, right? Often mocked as you're just having when you're tired you'll get a real job. That's what you'll often hear. So I want to understand it from a different perspective, and we can choose one of the career pillars that we're sort of brought up to think are the ones that we should look up, we should try and strive for, whether that's lawyer, doctor, engineer, pilot, would you say to a pilot that that's not enough, the same way, or would you make the same argument the same way that you're making for an artist, that it's not enough?
I'll make an argument, because I'll make the same argument,
okay. Yeah.
Because regardless of which career you are in,
yeah.
you need to do a lot of research, you need to have training, so that you may know how to implement.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get it. So it's not that you're saying it's, you know, for an artist, don't just be an artist, it's, you should also train to be, you know, a doctor or a lawyer. It's not that you're saying that, it's that you're saying it's important in any industry that you be versatile, that you're not a one-man show, you're only focusing on like tunnel vision, this is just it.
Let me give you a different perspective. How art or the skill-based they used to be trained in the past. They used to do it through acquaintances, whereby I'll do this, I'll demonstrate it to you, and you'll observe, and you'll be able to learn how to do that. When you talk about the skill-based careers, it is something people can learn. For me, I usually try to demystify art. I usually tell people art is not a talent, it's a skill that can be learned. Because I've trained people and they have gotten very well in it. But the problem comes out there in the world. If you have a painting of a lion, the moment people see that, they'll be able to duplicate that, to redo that. But the thought process that comes with designing, what in law we call the intellectual property, whereby you come to design something and you come up with your own original idea. That is the one that when you are exposed to education and knowledge and all that, it helps expand that. It helps add the value to the little skill, the innate skill and the aptitude that you have, so that it is expanded, whereby you can now channel. I can look at this table and I can design it in a different way, different materials. I can sculpt it.
And ultimately that's what makes you as an artist stand out.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I hear you, I get it. So, uni, what did you end up taking in university? Dorothy?
Well, I took graphics, communication and advertising, which is also a creative career. So, yeah, I remember initially my parents were a bit skeptical. They were like, take engineering, try something else, try something that at least we are assured you can get employment. You know, they just want a sense of security. But then the course actually turned out pretty well, and they, up to now, they don't really understand what exactly it entails, because it's quite wide.
Yeah.
But then they're seeing the fruits of it, because it's a very creative course.
Yeah.
It's something you can create opportunities for yourself, and it has also really influenced my painting work.
Oh, okay.
In
How
a big
so?
way.
Yeah, how so?
Well, graphics and abstract art. I think graphics comes in when it comes to now promoting my content online, knowing how to market, knowing how to package my work, you know, relating to people, customer relations.
Right. That's advertising, you mean?
Yes. Well, it's like a whole package.
Oh, okay.
Because now I have the actual skill. I can create my own content. I can do my own editing.
Oh, right. Yes, of course.
So, and then you also get an understanding of how the social media platforms work. So that has really propelled my work, I'd say, in terms of how I put it out there.
Yeah, which is essentially what you were saying, that it's important to pick up these other skill sets, because ultimately they do go towards building your passion, your art.
And adding value to your brand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what did you end up taking? You said you were choosing between doctor and artist and lawyer and artist.
Yeah, so I ended up, I first did education, fine art and history. I combined fine art and history. But when I finished my course, I decided to remain in the art industry for various reasons. And one of the reasons was that I had the purpose to pursue a law degree, and I pursued it as an evening class.
Okay.
And I tried to get a school to teach, but their rules and regulation are not working well for me, because there's a time you're supposed to report in school, and then there's a time that you're supposed to leave. And I had to catch a class at 5:30. And I had to look at my situation. I'm challenged, so I was trying to look at mobility, moving from point A to point B. It will either mean I leave the school leave work very early, which will start bringing issues, or I arrive at class late. So I decided, why don't I remain in the art industry? And I had for me, my exposure and art, it worked well for me, because when I was in high school, the arrangement that we had with somebody who took me there was only paying the tuition fee. So I was raising my own upkeep. So I did that through art. Yes. And even when I proceeded to the education degree that I was doing, my upkeep, accommodation, because I was doing off-campus accommodation,
Yeah.
I used to meet my bills and all that.
So,
and then sponsor my law degree through art.
Oh, so you then did the law degree. Did you find that the law degree, what kind of impact did it have on your art? What are some of the key lessons that you took from that?
A lot.
Okay.
One is that I got to know how to draft my own contracts. Because initially I used to do a lot of work for people, and the moment you deliver work, people don't pay.
Is that your experience too? Really?
Yes.
That they just, and how do they explain that?
Some just
disappear,
cut communication. But I think it's something I had to learn over time, because sometimes you take a commission and start working without the down payments, the commitment that they will actually take the work once you're through. So
now dealing with a lawyer, you're like, actually, according to clause,
and what makes it worse, like if I'm doing a painting of a lion, or okay, why done more? It's something I can paint. But if you commission me to do your own painting or portrait, or your family portrait, and you don't, but I can't take that work. And I've already spent.
There's nothing you can do with a picture of like my family. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that I did. The second thing was I tried to understand the issue of IP, intellectual property, and copyright. And this is where the difficult part comes in. You see, if I do an artwork of you, the intellectual property is mine. But because I'm an upcoming artist, sometimes you find clients who say, okay, I want this work, but don't sign it.
Oh, don't sign it.
Don't sign it.
Okay.
And then you try to balance between you need the cash and you're also giving up your work.
Can you sign the back of it?
You're supposed to sign on the work.
Oh, where it's visible.
Yeah. So sometimes you have to give that up.
Yeah.
And so I had to balance that. And that is also one of the things why I don't put most of my work on social media.
Oh.
Because you find clients who give you their personal work and they don't want it in the media.
Right.
So you have to honor that agreement.
Yeah.
And then there's the other dynamic whereby you do an artwork, then you want to sell it through social media, and then after a week you go to Nairobi and you find people have just duplicated your work.
Have you experienced that?
I have.
Yeah, you have.
Yes.
Wow. But I've seen on your Instagram that you share quite a bit of your pieces.
Yes, I actually sell a lot of my pieces online.
Oh, okay.
But now what the difference is between my pieces and others is that the style, it's really hard to replicate the kind of work that I do. I also can't replicate my own work. So if I put it out there, there's only one original copy of the piece. Right. So the issue would probably come in where people use my images for websites, development, you know, and selling images online without my consent.
Yeah.
And not
Yeah.
just the selling. Sometimes what makes it worse is that some people will take your artwork and they do a digital printing, and then they sell it as an original. Yes.
So as an artist, how have you sort of, you know, stood up for your art, and yeah, is there a legal route that you can take or you've taken in the past, or how do you handle such a case?
The approach is for upcoming artists
Yeah.
is a bit expensive, because once it means if I do a painting, I have to go and copyright it. It will require money to do that. Okay. Now, once if I copyright my work and somebody pirates it, it's easy for me to follow up. But sometimes you may find that probably you are struggling.
Yeah. It's
In
hard.
between.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't copyright. And then sometimes for some of the commissioned work that I do, like you're given a monument to do, you can't start copywriting it, and the contractual obligation, you're being contracted by a given institution or company or an individual to undertake the work on their behalf. So it brings about some challenges. So you just decide, you just do your work, you get what you're going to get.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
Another issue, or area that I wanted us to touch on a little bit, which you both actually brought up to some extent, is the education system, the Kenyan education system, and whether you think it supports young artists, or at least supports the exploration of art. I think you described your primary school experience as having been watered down.
Yes.
You said your high school, you didn't even have a teacher. It didn't stop you from being top in the county. But so what do you think how do you think the system can change? Do you think it needs to change? Do you think it supports young artists enough, or the people just who want to explore the arts, whether that's music, acting, or art? Yeah.
I think it definitely has to be changed, and I think with the curriculum-based, the CBC curriculum, I think that will go a long way into nurturing talent, because the problem with the old system is that it's glorified other skills compared to others. So there are things that are lucrative, things that are good to be done, and there are things that are just meant to be hobbies, things you do on the side, when really there are a lot of people who are creative, who are not being given the space to just express themselves. And I think creativity goes a long way to influence also these other things that people do. Because, well, for what I do, I'd say I'd describe it as science and art happily married, you know, because it's science, it has the science aspect of it, and it has the artistic aspect of it. So I think creativity really does influence how we even think as people, as adults.
Yeah.
Because I saw the rollout of this new curriculum, and kids are going out there creating their own tools to clean up markets, and you know that does something to your mind. It changes how you see things, it changes how you think about things, your perspective. It just makes you a very whole, you know,
Wholesome human being.
person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For me, I would say that we have a wide spectrum of intelligence when it comes to what we can learn and what we can do. And initially, the education, the 844 system, the initial part that I started with, we used to have those talent and skill-based subjects, but at some point they phased them off, and then it became more of a theoretical thing and a lot of homework and all that. And I think when that happened, a big part of development of the student was taken away. Kids lost that opportunity to learn how to do things differently. They lost the aspect of creativity. And when you look at the emerging economy, the emerging economies and the technological economies, their economies are moved by technology that rides on art. Like if you want to design a very nice house, it has to be aesthetic.
Oh yeah.
It must look good, both outside and the interior. And personally, I have trained kids from different education system, like the American system, the British system, and our 844 system. And one thing that used to break my heart was the fact that in these other two systems, they used to have art, music, and all that. And when you interact with a kid from those schools, you'll find they are all rounded. Their career does not just have to be medicine. Like let me give you a perspective. The reason why I wanted to combine medicine and art, I was looking at the angle of corrective surgeon, what we call plastic surgeons. You must have an artistic aptitude, and it applies in all fields. So the new curriculum-based program, I think it is good for the country. It is good for the development of the students and the pupils, both psychologically, emotionally, and all rounded. They'll be able to have contents that are going to inspire them creatively. And it's not just the art and all that. They're having music, they're having swimming. We have people who are adults and they don't know even how to swim. Okay, so this skill helps, and one of the reasons why it helps, education is supposed to be a tool that helps you look at the problems in the society and solve them. Okay, but you can't solve them if education has become also part of the problem. Okay, so you need to have that aspect of creativity expanded.
I mean, what you've both said completely resonates with me, and I like even what you said, Dorothy, just saying that it's not even about trying to create artists and put artists out there. It's just allowing them to tap into that creative part of the brain, because ultimately what we want to put out there, like you were saying, is problem solvers, right? Not people who are good at regurgitating. So yes, art, let them draw, let them paint, and there's been many studies that have shown that a lot of times there are a lot of adults who are carrying with them creative wounds. They're so scared to explore, to even try and come up with a solution, because something happened as a child where they put something out there and an adult ridicule them or sort of shut it down, and it has an impact in how we live. So yes, 100% agree. So tell me a little bit about your art. Now we've explored a lot about your journey here, but what's been some of the exciting moments now that you've been creating art? I know you've gone for a couple of, you've had an exhibition or two, and I think you've also showcased your work at certain markets as well, sold your pieces. So yeah, tell me about some of the highlights.
Well, my journey is a bit interesting. So after high school, there's that period where you're still waiting to join campus, you're trying to figure out what you will do. And so I told my parents that I wanted to come to Nairobi to paint because I'm from Eldoret. So I came, I didn't have a place to go. I just figured the art scene in Nairobi is very vibrant. I'll just fix myself somewhere and do something with myself. So I came here. Stayed with my siblings, and then a friend of theirs introduced me to a group of artists that normally just used to paint from a studio somewhere in South B. And I'd go there and just hang out with them, and so they realized that I was interested in painting, but I really didn't know how to tell them that I would actually like to learn what you guys are doing, or at least, work with you. So so one day I was just hanging out in the studio and they gave me a piece of canvas and told me to just use the supplies that are available. Yeah. So I started painting and just doing my own thing. I was just starting out if I look at those paintings right now. But you have to start from somewhere.
You have to start from somewhere.
Yes. So in the process, a friend of mine had they had an art month in their church, and so they were welcoming artists to just showcase their work, and so she invited me. She really did believe in me. So she's called Karatha. So I went and we sorted out a few things here and there, brought in our work and everything. So that was my first exhibition. Remember, these pieces are, well, quite something. Right. Look at them right now. But that really motivated me to show me, you can actually do this. This is a space you can, grow in. So after that, I went to school, and so I didn't quite find a place I could continue doing my art because, the relocation from home to school, and then a semester you're back at home, holidays and everything. So it got a bit, I didn't paint for some time. And then I remember when I was transitioning from my second year to my third year, I had a long break. So I came back to Nairobi once again, and this artist that I was working with introduced me to more artists, and introduced me actually to artist Patrick Mukabi. If you know him, he has a big heart. So I met at Patrick, and from then on he just told me, you can just come here, because he has a studio at the Railways Museum. So he told me to just come, do your thing. There's plenty of space in here. There are people, there are artists who will just help you, walk your creative journey and just find your voice. Yeah. So I remember I made a huge canvas, like 1 meter by 1 meter. I was really ambitious. And I wanted to paint this kid who was drinking water by the river. And I remember that painting took me, I think, a whole 3 months to complete. Wow. Because I had a massive block. And I think at that time I was just trying to find myself, find something that I resonate with, something that excites me to do. So, so when I was winding up my time at the studio, we had a chat, and he told me, what, let yourself free, don't be pegged on doing something so particular. Just express whatever it is that you have in your head, in your mind, whatever it is that you feel. If you're inspired by circumstances and things that are around you, put that down on canvas. And so when I went back home, I tried doing the same, and I got really frustrated because things were just not working out. So this time I'm trying something out, and then I smudged my paint. So I figure my canvas is pretty much ruined. So what I can do is just pour all this paint I had and try and play around with it. Okay. And so when I did that, that's when I discovered fluid art. Oh my gosh. I was fascinated. It looked really beautiful. And the interesting thing is that you pour 3 colors, and by the end of it you have so many. I've seen pieces on your page, and it just looks like a galaxy of, I don't know. In fact, colors. I named my first piece Cosmos. Oh, really? Like it does look like it's like a galaxy. So I found that really interesting, and I think the process, it's the process that makes me excited more than what the end product, because it's with fluid art you barely have control over what you're doing, and so you just do your thing. Nature does the rest. Oh wow! And the rest is history. The rest is history. What are some of your highlight moments, George? Career highlights.
My first highlight moment, I was in Form 3. I did a mosaic artwork. It was quite big, the size of like a door halfway, half. Okay. And mosaic, you cut piece of papers, and then you cut with scissors, small piece of papers, different colors, and then you make a picture out of that. So I made my first picture, and I sold it at 150,000. You're kidding. At Form 3? Yeah, at Form 3. Oh. And for me, that was an eye-opener, because
How long did it take you?
4 months.
4 months.
4 months.
But that's incredible.
In the
though.
4 months, I used to spend like 4 or 5 hours a day.
But as a high school student, you haven't even finished high
Yes,
school, and
yes.
you've got 150,000.
Yes. So that was one of the moments that assured me
Right.
that art has a career. Then 2015, I managed to present a bust sculpture to the president, and my objective, you know, if you go to the art industry, sometimes it's run like a private club. And at that time, I used to do a lot of proposals, and whenever I take them, I present my proposal. The first thing that I'll be told is, I'm a nobody in the art field. I'm not known.
Yeah.
Second, I've not done any major project, so my ideas were set aside. So for me, I used that as a platform to launch me, so that at least now I may be able now to make that breakthrough. And yeah, it worked. I got my first order for a monument for Machakos level 5. I was given 8 days. The president was coming to commission on the 12th day. And I tried to look at the materials that I could do with. Cement was the only material I could do. It was my first time to work with the cement. And I delivered.
How funny is it? Circumstances can really push you to explore parts of your creativity you didn't even know existed.
Yes. Then after that, I got 2 other monuments. Actually, they were for Mashujaa Day 2016 in Machakos. I did Molumutisia and Muindimbingu. And you know, for a monument, you're supposed to take between 3 to 6 months to do one. The first one I did in 8 days. Then I was given 2 to do them within 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did and I delivered. Yeah, then the third project are the 2 monuments at Pumani Maternity Hospital. I was given 14 days.
14. Why are people? Can we not give artists? Can we please give artists more time? Do you think time makes you a better artist, or you know how people say, me under pressure I can deliver? Is it for you? Is it the same for you as an artist?
Actually,
that you feel like you do your best work under pressure?
It is very frustrating because if you are given a short timeline, it means that you have to spend more on manpower. You have to spend more hours, and you must not make mistakes.
And the pressure, like 14 days, it takes 3 to 6 months, 14 days. That's just incredible. Do you work best under pressure, do you feel?
No.
Okay.
Especially with what I do, considering I'm not sure of how this will turn out, so I need time.
Okay.
Plus also my paintings take quite some time to dry, so
there's
definitely need time.
PSA, okay, PSA. Please give artists time, okay, just like adequate time, because they want to deliver. 12 days, 15 days, that's just 8 days, you know. Wow, all right. Well, thank you so much. It's really been an eye-opener for me to try and understand a little bit more about your world, and I'm sure for people watching as well. And for parents too, for students, for people who are looking to get into the art world, I think one of the things that came out so clearly and beautifully is that, one, it's important to create and to tap into that creative space, whether or not you even want to get into art, because ultimately it benefits you in the long run. But that too, even if you do want to pursue art, that you do look into other skill sets, because it will, in one way or another, help propel you further in that career. Those were my 2 main takeaways. I'd love to hear what yours are, actually. So if you want to share on our social media, that's Living with S on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Please let us know. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought about today's show, but I loved it. So thank you. Thank you. All right, where can people find you? If people wanted to get in touch and commission something, how can people find you?
I have a page on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
So on Instagram, I go by Dorothy_Chumba.
Okay.
And I have a page on Facebook called Art by D.
Art by D. All right.
DEE.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And you, George?
I have a page, George Mololo Artist. It's slightly dormant.
Okay.
Because the nature of my work, sometimes I do a lot of work and people don't want them to be put online.
Yeah.
So I have to respect that.
Yeah.
And also, there's some work that I work with and I can't put them on social media because they have not yet been launched.
Okay.
Like I have 2 monuments that I've just finished, they have not yet
But
launched,
you
so I
can't,
can't put them on social
But
media.
can they reach you on social media?
Yeah,
anyway?
you can reach me at George Mololo Artist or George Mololo.
Okay.
Yeah, I have those two.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And my website is coming up soon.
Okay.
I've just taken it offline because I'm trying to work on it and
Tweak, adjust it.
so that at least all my artworks can be there.
Okay. Well, thank you both. And thank you to Swiss Lenana Mount Hotel. Hope you enjoyed today's show and hope you enjoy the rest of your day, ladies and gents. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. I hope to see you there. Bye, everybody.